Okay, guys, we're doing things completely differently once again. I was inspired this week to do this video a little bit differently because I have a conversation with Alan. He is somebody that's looking for possible personal use as well as investment properties here in Cape Coral. And the one thing he kept saying is, look, I can see the homes. They look great, wonderful, love it. But I don't know anything about the area. I don't know where to even look. I don't know how to start the process. And obviously, I can give you insight to a certain extent. But what we're going to do today is we're going to break down exactly where to live in Cape Coral, Florida, if this is the area you're considering. So we're going to go through the 4 quadrants again. We're going to give you some updates. We're going to give you all some of the different amenities you're going to find in these areas and hopefully help you, like Alan, understand better where you might want to put yourself when it comes time to look for your piece of Cape Coral, Florida. We're getting after that next. All right, guys, so we're going to start this off with a screen share. I'm going to put the map up so I can start showing you some of the areas where things are going to be. I'll throw in some drone videos for you, so you can actually get the physical viewings of it. But this is the only way that I know to be able to get you to where we need to go. One thing to share about all the information you're going to hear on this video is that there's much more to know about each of the quadrants. In order to make this video even remotely close to a reasonable time frame to watch, I had to cut down on the amount of information. So if you need further information on any of these quadrants, feel free to reach out. The information will be on the screen. The first thing we're going to discuss is how the area is broken down. So Cape Coral itself, it's this whole peninsula that you see here, and it's broken into quadrants: east and west, north and south. So that is going to be the breakdown. We're going to start up here in the northwest and work our way down and around. And there's a reason behind this. Most of our newer construction in the area happens in the northwest and the southwest. These are the newest sections. Most people I'm talking to prefer something a little newer. If you want more character and something that's into like a home in the southeast, those are older homes. There might be more character in the home, but once again, older generally also means insurance rates can be a little bit higher, more maintenance needs to be done. So it just depends on what your situation is and how you want to deal with that. But what we're going to do is talk first off some of the things you're going to find in these areas. So up in the northwest, that's this whole section right up here. Might as well just, yep, Santa Barbara. So all of this up here is considered the northwest. And this is the area also that's well and septic right now for the most part. There is a dividing line right around here where everything down below here is still water and sewer. Everything up above is well and septic. The other thing very unique about this area up here is there's a stoplight here, and at all these major intersections of Pine Island Road. Pine Island Road is the main road that goes east and west in the north. Everything else up here is stop signs. Everything. So if you don't know how to do a 4-way stop, you're going to have to learn it. It's going to be part of your life. I don't know when that's ever going to change, but it will change at some point. Another unique thing that happened up here in the northwest is there's so much space up here that this is pretty much the only place that you can go now to build new things. Like we talked about the 7 Island project, right? That is right. That's going to be right out here. These 7 islands that you see, they're going to build basically a resort out there. Another thing that's happening is right here at the boat ramp. Right next to the boat ramp is going to be a hotel. So these are things that are all coming in. You have Joe Stone's Park over here off of Cetus. That's where they play a ton of pickleball and stuff. And then Matlacha Pass. All these canals up here are saltwater. They all go out the Matlacha Pass right here. Now, one thing that's very interesting about all of these waterways that cross over Burnt Store Road here or underneath, you'll see them, they're crossing under, right? Well, a lot of people might get confused and think, well, I'll buy a house over here and then I'll just get my Gulf access like that. No, you won't. There's something right here at each of these bridges. It's referred to as a weir. A weir is a concrete, basically blockade that keeps the salt water from going into the freshwater, but allows the freshwater to spill back over into the saltwater. So that is the way the drainage system works. In the Cape Coral area, freshwater is all going to be to the east side of Burnt Store Road, over this way. So anybody that's on water over here, it's freshwater. You can use it to navigate, you can use it to tool around, you can use it for jet skis and all, and kayaks and paddle boards and all that, but you are not going to get out to the Gulf there. So keep that in mind. All these properties that are out here in the Northwest, there's still bridges in many cases, and these bridges are maybe 8.5 feet tall. So if you're buying a property that's going to be on the east side of that and you want to get under that bridge, you need to make sure that the height the boat rides off the water is going to be able to get under those bridges. Otherwise, you're not getting in or out unless the tide changes. Some people actually have to wait for tide change for that to happen for them. But part of the Northwest that you may not be aware of is, and this is something, again, through a conversation with Alan, the landscaping up in this area is not big and plush and full like it will be in the South. When we show you the South, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot more space between properties in the Northwest. There's a lot of development that still has to come. That's why that infrastructure of the water and sewer is not there yet. They did start doing it again. So you'll start to see more of the construction happening, and properties we'll start to see the assessment attached to the properties as well. In this area, to get higher elevation, if you're concerned about insurances, you still need to go east, get as close to the Santa Barbara area as possible, and even head north from there. That's the highest areas in Cape Coral. As you get to the shorelines, that's the lowest levels. You're going to have lower elevations unless the builder builds it up. You may find yourself with some flood insurance, and some might be more expensive than others. The Southwest, we'll talk about that. There's going to be areas that are in extreme flood areas, just like the yacht club area in the Southeast. So keep that in mind when you're making a decision on where you want to be. But up in this area, again, lots of newer homes. There'll be a boat ramp, which we mentioned just down here. Up in the Burnt Store Marina, there's also another boat ramp up there. There's some little neighborhood ones that you might find that were cut in randomly by residents, but they're not labeled as true public boat ramps. So don't think that they're free to use. There's less restaurants, there's less dining and shopping up in this area. If you do find it, you're going to find it mostly like, here's a Publix Plaza. And as you come back down Pine Island Road, we do have Bubba's Roadhouse here. And then if you remember, the town center is going to be right next to Bubba's. So that's something this whole area is developing. ABC Liquor recently came in, and you'll see all along here. We do have Bob Evans, Stevie, Tomato Sport Page. Carrabba's is there. Bonefish Grill is going to be there. So there are plenty of restaurants along here, and it will continue all the way through. And you'll see there's a Kohl's Plaza, the Sam's Club. So all those things are going to still be here. Oh, and we do have for any of you that partake in adult beverages, we do have a rum distillery here, and they do give tours there. So you can have a little taste of the local liqueurs. Anyway, the Northwest is, again, developing. It's growing. The neighborhoods do not have sidewalks. However, the main road here of Burnt Store does have a path. This path that starts up here literally comes down and follows veterans all the way out to the river and across the bridge. Now, you're not really going to want to cross the bridge on a bicycle, but that path will go that far. So you can certainly make it that far. And if you get up into Punta Gorda, they have miles of trails up there as well. But the Northwest is still going to be Probably third on the list of what would be considered desirable. Southwest is first, Southeast is second, then Northwest and Northeast, just for various reasons. But many of the reasons we've already mentioned are why that is. But the new construction will keep you coming there. The landscaping will eventually come in. Again, no sidewalks, mostly open and spacious. So if you're somebody that's not very social and you want your space, that might be the area for you. Now we're going to go right around in a circle here. So next one is going to be the Southwest. The Southwest is all of this area here. And you can see there's quite a bit of space to cover, right? So in this area, there's plenty of types of properties, both water access, dry sites. There's a few communities. We do have Sandoval that's right here. We have Royalty that's out here, a golf community. We will have, this is Palmetto Pines. It's one of our two full regulation golf courses. We do have some executive courses as well, but there's only two that are, the full out regulation to play on. And this Palmetto Pines is one of them. Outside of that, communities, there's one called Heatherwood Lakes that's right around here. And then obviously down here, we have Cape Harbor, very, very sought after community. There's another one right down here. It's a very small one. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. And then we're going to have tons of apartment complex kind of setups throughout the area. So if you're looking for gated, there's definitely going to be gated, but much of it's subdivisions, no HOAs. So if you're looking for a place where you do not have an HOA, you don't have rules and regulations, Southwest is where you're going to want to be. There will be more and more restaurants and shops as you come down this way. As you can see, Torch Bar and Grill, this is a full Surfside Plaza. There's tons of stuff in there. Yes, for you Starbucks fans, there's that as well. Keg and Cow, Dollar Tree, all kinds of stuff in there for you. And then as you head down further south, you're going to get down to Lobster Lady and Overtime Sports. If you're a sports fan, go to Overtime, plenty of TVs, good food. And as you keep coming back down the road here, I know Duffy's is here somewhere. There's the Pizza Hut. There's Duffy's. Duffy's is another sports grill. Good food, tons of TVs. And if you're a football fan or any other sports fan, you're going to get plenty right there. But the Southwest will also give you Rum Runners and Fathoms. This is on the water. The Chiquita Lock is right there. For anybody that's looking for a boat down in this area, you will currently have to pass through that lock. We talked about this lock a couple weeks ago. It's not functioning since Hurricane Ian, but there's lots of discussion of what to do about it. But in the interim, it's going to remain open so boats can come and go as they choose and just deal with the tide changes, because that does get rather fast moving water through that lock when the tides are changing. Now this area down here is almost exclusively water and sewer. You rarely will see any well. Well can still be used for irrigation if you choose to, but most people, for the small amount of money that they charge you for the irrigation, you certainly can do that. $9.50 a month, I believe, is what it is. There are still four-way stops down here. You do get more and more lights, but again, the lights happen at the main intersections. Anywhere there's a main intersection. Even out here, four-way stop. Here, four-way stop. It's just, that's the way it is. Now, something interesting that many people may not know about the area, we do have water treatment plants around here. And sometimes when the conditions are right and the wind blows the right way, it can certainly affect you. You may get some of that sulfur smell in the air. And one place in particular that it seems to happen is right here in the Southwest. So if you're very close by that, you might find that you get some residual effect from it. It's not a problem most of the year, but it can be. As far as schools go, there's going to be ample schools in all four of these quadrants. Some of the most sought after are going to be down in this area, such as Gulf Elementary. You'll have Oasis, which does elementary, middle, and high school all on the same property. And you'll also have Ida Baker High School. That's where my son goes, this one right here. The other thing to mention is all four quadrants will have sports parks, whether it's baseball parks and things of that sort. Also, all electrical lines run in the air here. So unless you're in a gated community that built the infrastructure to go in the ground, you will have electrical lines up in the air. They will be visible. If it bothers you, you need to consider another area or move into a gated community. Now, as I mentioned, traffic's going to get a little thicker down this way because it just gets busier. So this whole area down here, these roads will all get busier. There's still no sidewalks in the main neighborhoods unless it's a busier road. Here's an example for you. I live very close to this 20th Avenue. Well, 20th Avenue happens to be one of those that's traveled more often, and it has sidewalks. So this road right here, it's traveled probably half as much as Chiquita, maybe a quarter even, but then it has the sidewalks because there's that much traffic. And the kids do walk from the school in this area. You'll see that there's the elementary school and the middle school. So there's reasons behind it all, but keep that in mind. If sidewalks are something you need, most of the neighborhoods will not have them. So you'll be walking on the street with the vehicles. Now down in this area, also, you're going to see many more apartment complexes and buildings. You will also note that you also need to recognize that as you get further south into the neighborhoods, the elevation does go down and you may end up with higher flood insurance. In this particular area, everything to the west of Chiquita that's in this area up here, it's all going to be Gulf access. You get back into freshwater over here, except for this one canal system that's hanging out. It's not even one, but the main one is this part right here. All of this dumps right out down here. So you can still get Gulf access towards the center, maybe get a little higher elevation. Same thing on this side. Did the same kind of thing. And this actually goes up and around like this, because these people have to come down this way to get out. So there are ways to still get Gulf access. Some of it will be longer than others, but this is what it's made up of. And if you see this cool little place down here, this is called the 8 Lakes. That is where you'll get big water views, Gulf access. You'll come right out the bottom here and dump out into the river. So wonderful location for boaters that want big water views. Again, it's called the 8 Lakes. Down in this area, you're also going to see much more developed neighborhoods. That's where you're going to have bigger palm trees. You're going to have the big lush landscaping. So when you drive down a road, there's not going to be as much of the vacant land, and it's going to feel much more like a developed neighborhood. So if that's what if you're angling for that, get down in the Southwest. Newer, more plush. All right, now the Southeast. The Southeast, there's some of my favorites in this area, and I'll tell you exactly what they are. First off, let's draw the area. This is pretty much going to be all the Southeast for you. So everything up against the river, and that's what was developed first. That's why we have a ton of waterways on that side. But with the Southeast, everything's going to be older. Neighborhoods still do not have sidewalks unless they're busier roads. There's some really standout communities or subdivisions within it. One of them off the top of my head is Savona. Absolutely beautiful area. The Beach Parkway section is mostly condos, but very, very cool, because one of the things that is awesome about this is all Gulf access condos all through here. This whole section, you see what's in the middle of it? JC Park. Yeah, you've heard all the stories about JC Park, trying to develop it, make it this big entertainment place for the neighborhood, but you can imagine all these people here, they are not happy. That's their little place. That's their little solitude to go to. And we'll see how that fight plays out, but this is all condos. You have to move out of that section and either go north or south. Here's Savona Parkway. That's the one I mentioned. Absolutely beautiful properties. And you can see wide canals. This is where you're going to get some of the biggest canals in the area. So if you have a bigger boat and you want bigger waterways so you can turn the thing around easier, you need to be on the Southeast, in the Southeast area of the Cape. The other thing about Southeast is the yacht club area. Everything down here is considered the yacht club area. It got destroyed in the storm, so not a great thing there. The actual yacht club is right down here. And you might hear a lot of people talking lately about the Yacht Club Beach. Well, it just got reopened. And that is right here at the southeast tip, right next to my favorite waterfront restaurant, the Boathouse. Yep, you can pull your boat up there, have a nice lunch. The place was expanded when they redid it after the storm, and it's absolutely wonderful. The Southeast is where you're going to find a ton of restaurants and things. In fact, the majority of them are going to happen right up here off of Cape Coral Parkway and Southeast 47th. I mean, you have Rackham's is up here is a little sports bar, pool tables, Backstreet Sports Bar, again, live music, food, drink, never mind, great food there. The places like Panera Bread, if you want something a little quicker. Cape Cabaret is there, Greek Spot, Fishtail. The Fishtail, you've seen this in other videos. This is absolutely Merrick's Fishtail Grill is tremendous. That's where we go for brunch. I've met clients there numerous times for brunch. It's amazing. 2 meatballs in the kitchen down here. Nice Guys Pizza. Oh, Tito's. There's Tito's. Tito Ortiz's new Mexican restaurant, inspired from California. That's on the south side of Cape Coral Parkway. And again, Chicago Pizza. So tons and tons of stuff down here. It's also going to be the place where you're going to find the country bar that is so very popular here. Hey, there we go. Dixie Roadhouse. There's the Dixie Roadhouse. That place gets packed on weekend nights. But this is where the majority of the activity is going to be. It's also where you're going to find most of our hotels. There's one there. There's another one right over here. There's the Key Resort here. These are places that you're going to be able to stay when you come into town. There's a couple other smaller ones you're going to find up along the strip here. And as you may remember, there's a number of hotels coming up into the Northwest. The one that was by the boathouse, by the boat ramp, as well as the one that's going into the town center. This area does have much lower elevations, so expect to pay higher flood insurance rates. Again, older homes, older neighborhoods. They're a little bit more built up. They're not as plush as, say, the Southwest, but they're built up. They've got the palm trees. They've got a lot of vegetation. Again, it's just it could be a maintenance issue. If you're somebody that doesn't want to deal with that, the majority of the homes in this area are going to be older homes. Now, many of them have been knocked down and replaced. So it's not true for everything, but it's certainly something you have to pay attention to. Since we're also in the Southeast, another area I absolutely love is Country Club. This is a winding road. I used to love it specifically for my motorcycle because there's not a lot of curves around here. But the other thing I love, the neighborhood is so quiet. It's so nice. It's kept wonderfully. It almost looks like it's kept like an HOA. Obviously, there's no HOA. People just take care of everything in that area. They do a great job and it looks beautiful. This area is also closest to the bridges. There's the Cape Coral Bridge, and you've got the Veterans Bridge up here. Those neighborhoods are the closest to get you over the bridges the fastest. Least amount of traffic. Now, there will be traffic lights, again, the entire way up and down Del Prado. But you go back in these neighborhoods, over this way, down this way, here, all four-way stops. That's just what it is. And I guess that's it for the Southeast. So now we're going to jump up into, I'm not going to say it's the least favorite. I'm not going to say it's the least desirable, but it is. It's getting to change its perspective for many people for a couple reasons, and I'll explain. So right about here is where it cuts over, goes up, and it engulfs this area basically. That is Northeast Cape. Now with Northeast Cape, it's going to be a mix again of older and newer. There's going to be a lot more commercial lots left. And I'll tell you what happened. Right up in this area, this whole section, you're going to find there's duplexes and, as you can see along the road, businesses. What they did is many of the remaining lots there, they rezoned them to commercial. When you rezone to commercial in a residential area, that basically means duplexes are what's going to be able to come in there. So if you're looking to live up in this area, understand that there's certain sections like this one that are going to be more of a rental district. We've got a few rental districts in the area. We had one in the Southeast that I neglected to point out to you, it's right here. This whole area is a rental district. And I didn't discuss it, but the Bimini Basin project is right here. That's where this section in particular is where they're putting that new building that's going to have a restaurant and a bunch of apartments and parking. That's all going to be there, just like the Cove on 47th is going to be right here. So let's get back to the north or the southeast. Sorry about that. Had to come back around. Anyway, up here in the northeast, that's where the hospital is. So if you have a need to get to a hospital, it's right off of Del Prado in the northeast. You'll find a lot. There's a little industrial park right in this area. So if that's what if you need these smaller businesses, they're out of warehouses, that's generally where you're going to find them. Much of this area is still, while some of it's Gulf access, like down this way, these up here are still freshwater canals. These are freshwater canals. This is Shamrock Lakes is the name of that subdivision there. It's absolutely beautiful, but it doesn't go anywhere. What it does do though, is if you're somebody just likes to tool around in the canals on your jet ski or in your pontoon boat or whatever, you'll see that you'll be able to get into many different basins from some locations. It'll tie into places where you can get around to all these other places, all these other little basins. So with that, the Northeast is still developing. We're still getting more and more things in there. And one of the things you'll notice is right at this intersection, this is Del Prado and Pine Island. This is where the most stuff is coming in as far as that area. First Watch, Mission Barbecue, Crumble Cookies. We already had the CVS, Firestone, and Lowe's. Also over here is a Super Target that will have Chick-fil-A. It's the only Chick-fil-A in the city is in the Northeast, right by Pondell and Pine Island Road. So just past Del Prado going east. But this is where you're going to find a bunch more shopping. Here's that one hotel I mentioned that's up in that area. And the Northeast, it's getting busier. It's the closest. This is one thing that is very interesting. It is the absolute closest to get over to downtown Fort Myers. So if you're living in one of these little neighborhoods in here, you're just going to come out, get over and cross over the 41 bridge. The 41 bridge is free. There's no charge for it. The other bridges, it's $2 round trip. But that's one of the nice things also, as you can see, they've got themselves a super Walmart that's technically in North Fort Myers, but it's a hop, skip, and a jump from Northeast Cape. Now, this has the least amount of Gulf access. So if you're looking for Gulf access properties, you're not looking in Northeast Cape in most cases. That turns into North Fort Myers for their Gulf access. There's a small section that I pointed out previously that's right down in here that would technically be considered. Some of it's considered Southeast though. So yeah, let's just stick to what I said originally. Northeast has very little Gulf access, so you'll be looking in the other quadrants if you're looking for that. This is also the smallest quadrant and therefore probably has less area to develop or to bring development in the future. But again, there's still room for growth out there. It's mostly well and septic once again. And if you are looking for a lesser expensive property, something that's more friendly to the budget, you might find the Northeast Cape is probably going to satisfy that for you. All right, so that's a little bit more about how to answer where should I live in the Cape. These are some of the things you're going to want to consider. Obviously, there's much more information to go in depth on here. I'm trying to fit all this into a reasonably timed video to be able to give you all the information you need. So if you've got any questions for me, please reach out at your convenience. If you would like more information on the area and don't really want to talk to anybody yet, check out one of these other videos. But I'm here for you regardless. So if you ever need me, call, text, or email because I've got your back when moving to the Gulf Coast.